Hey there, welcome to the Girl Go Global podcast, where faith and works are empowered. With every episode, we're embracing our multi-layered lives with faith, know-how, and grit. I'm your host, Dr. Jasmine, and I'm ready to go global with you. Let's get started. Hey, global girls, welcome to the Girl Go Global podcast. I'm your girl, Dr. Jasmine, and I can't wait to have this conversation with you. Literally, I got one of my bestest friends joining me as co-host today, Miss Tiffany Nicholson. And by the way, this episode is sponsored by the Muse and the Messenger and the Tiffany Reneé collection, where you are reflected in the card. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because we've talked about this, but now it's coming to fruition. And I'm also excited to have you sponsor this episode and to share with the people what you're doing, how you're doing it. So just let everyone know who you are. And then we'll get into the episode because today we're talking about what it means to go global. What does that mean? Like, the Girl Go Global podcast and community is really for women who are ready to step into their power, who are ready to reach the calling they feel from within. But most of all, we are literally helping to empower that faith and those works to help other women live that courageous life for which God created us. Because, by the way, our main purpose, our sole purpose on earth, is to fulfill that purpose and destiny while we were born. So, Tiffany, before we get started with this episode, please, please, please introduce yourself and let everyone know what you have in the bag, and tell everybody about the Tiffany Reneé collection.
My sister, I'm so excited to be on here with you. Before we move forward, I'm just so proud of you. I remember when Girl Go Global was a thought and an idea. You thought it was an idea, but we since have known and see that it is a God idea. And God ideas are totally different from regular ideas. So I'm just super proud of you to see this actual come into fruition and a manifestation of it all. And I just can't wait to see how far it goes. Girl, we going global, okay? And for all of you out there, hi, girlfriends. I am Tiffany Reneé. I am the owner of the Muse and the Messenger and the creator of the Tiffany Reneé collection, where you are reflected in the cards. As Jasmine said, I recently dropped a greeting card collection. It has been a passion project and something that I have wanted to do since I was a little girl. And little girls with dreams become women who become bosses, and that's what happened. So I'm since dropped out some greeting cards that range from love cards to holiday cards to birthday cards to Mother's Day cards. We are about to release our graduation promotion card, actually within the next week. And we have a Father's Day card coming. Our Juneteenth cards are always a hit. And as the name says, the cards reflect us. So specifically me, but all of us as a whole. You walk into the store, you don't see cards where the people look like you. Well, these cards look like you. They look like me. They look like Dr. Jazz. They look like us all. They infuse some of my beliefs. They infuse what I value, family, nature, things of that nature. So come on, support your girl. I know Dr. Jazz has gotten a few orders herself. And so I just hope that each person that receives a card or gives a card, their life is changed by whether it's the message or the reflection that they see in the cards.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get into this conversation. Today we're talking about what it means to go global. I'm just going to start by saying, when I sat down to think about starting this activity for women, and I wanted to just sit back and just kind of think about what do I want to show up in the world? What do I want out of this next phase of my life? Meaning I've gone through a lot of transition recently. I've just thinking about what I want my career to look like. So, but there's some deeply passionate things that I have on my heart to do. And I just wanted to kind of bundle those things up together and kind of fold them into one brand, if you will. So I created the Girl Go Global community, one, because I'm deeply passionate about helping mentoring women and girls. And many years ago, I had a excuse me, I had a youth young women's organization for empowering young women. We mentored over 300 or 400 young ladies from ages 7 to 17 through an organization I led called Emerging Young Ladies. And I've always just really been adapt to volunteering. And then recently I published my book, Heart Rhythm: Surviving Singleness with Faith, Know-How, and Grit. And I was just really thinking about what I want to do with my hands. How do I want to show up? And then all these passions I have around mission work, volunteerism, empowerment, and just basically helping others meet their and accomplish their goals. And I decided to create Girl Go Global because one of the things that helps me is my faith. And then one of the things that helps me is just kind of writing out that strategy, figuring out how I can, do all the things that God created me to do. So this whole concept about faith, know-how, strategy, and then grit, this whole idea about persistently showing up in the world, doing all the things that God lays on my heart to do. And that's really what Girl Go Global is all about. And it's really about embracing all the multi-layered layers of my life. And so I aim with whatever I'm doing because it's still coming to fruition. It's still kind of unfolding, but I really just aim to point people back to Christ. I aim to help people reach their purpose and by any means I can. And I aim to kind of do it fearlessly.
I love it.
That's what to me Girl Go Global is. But I want to hear from you, like, sis, you just dropped a whole card line and it's dope, and you've transitioned. I remember us having conversations about your writing, and I remember us having conversations about the Muse and the Messenger. We built the Muse and the Messenger together, and then it has evolved now to your own company, and you're just doing a lot of great things. And I really think you're going global, and I really think that you are embracing all parts of you. So I want to just kind of talk about where you get your faith to transition, keep moving with the Muse and the Messenger, kind of evolving. Let's hear it. Share, where that comes from for you.
Well, first of all, I receive all of that. I receive all of that. I grew up a PK kid. For those of you who don't know what a PK kid is, my dad used to be a pastor, an elder in the church. And so I don't know a life without faith. And what do I mean by that? Even as a child, you think like, oh, you were just a little kid. You didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know what you were saying. Yes, I did. My mother made it her business to really instill in each of us the power of our faith, right? Faith is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, antidote to all things. And I know that is a big statement. And, there may be some people who don't
Yeah,
agree.
say that one more time. Say that one more time. We got
Faith is
run
the
that back real quick.
antidote. Faith is the antidote to all things. Now, when y'all repeat that, y'all quote me. But it is the antidote. It is the antidote to all things. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if you are feeling discouraged, you can lean on your faith. If you are feeling beat down, you can turn to your faith. If you need support, you can find it in your faith. If you need love, go to your faith. If you need a new idea, tap into your faith. Whatever you need is in your faith. And people are like, well, that's uber religious. Yes, it has some religiosity to it, but it's also uber spiritual. And you and I always had this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm religious, but I'm also super spiritual, and the two are not the same. And so I leaned on my faith. I believe in God,
Mm-hmm.
just for the record. I believe in God, and I believe that my God is the God that sees me and hears me.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing takes God by surprise when it comes to me.
That's good.
Like God knows the end and the beginning.
Yep.
And so, therefore, there's nothing that could happen to me or nothing that I could do that will surprise God. So, when I'm not sure, I go back to faith. Faith is merely that belief, right? It's what makes it real.
Mm-hmm.
It is that belief. And so, a lot of times, you need to believe in something bigger than you in order to move forward, in order to succeed, in order to survive, and then later thrive.
For sure.
So I can remember my mom would teach me certain prayers, you know, nothing that was written down anywhere, prayers from her heart that worked for her. When I was a little girl, when I was scared, she was like, "You don't have to be scared. Do you know whose child you are? You don't have to be scared. Not only are you my child, but you're a child of God's. You are the apple of God's eye. You are the daughter of a king." And so I held on to those things, right? Uh, and it sustained me, that belief that there's someone who sees me and hears me, even when I can't see or hear them. And there is someone who knows everything about me and my life. Every strand of hair on my head, and y'all know, Jazz, I got a lot of hair. Every strand of hair on my head already knows all about me, knows who I will become, knows what I will do, knows what I will say. And so it's like the center of me. I know you heard people say, go back to your center. Well, that's where my faith is, that seed. And I don't need a lot of it. If I just have a little bit of it, it will sustain me and take me on. I think Girl Goes Global is a call to action, right? It's a call to
For sure.
action for women all over the world, no matter your age. It crosses generations. Uh, it doesn't make a difference what your preferences are. It is a call to action to be who you were called to be who you were birthed to be. Right? Live life on purpose. Nothing's too big for you to accomplish if you circle back, to this faith. I also feel like I'm gonna say it's like a declaration of permission, and I'm using the word permission for lack of a better word at the moment. But it is like a liberation. It gives you permission to go beyond what you thought, beyond what they said about you, beyond what they said you were capable of, beyond what your mind, your finite mind may think that you are capable of, and to expand your reach. So yes, Tiffany Reneé and the Muse and the Messenger, we're going global. That is the goal. And what does that mean? That means that I'm just expanding my reach. I'm going beyond what I thought was capable. So one thing, I just had a birthday, recently had a birthday.
Happy
Um,
birthday.
Thank you. And something that I do for my birthday is the night before, I come up with a prayer or a mantra that I'm going to pray throughout that year. And so this year, my prayer was, God, show me how good it can be.
That's
And
good. Wait a minute.
the reason,
That's good.
God showed me how good it can be. Yeah, let that settle in.
Yeah. What y'all
You know what that
y'all
does?
say, sit in it real quick. Sit in that real quick.
Yes. And the reason why,
Like, how
that's
did you
my
get there?
prayer, is because
Let's run that back real quick. Like, was there a time when you felt like you weren't basking in the goodness? So, like, how did you get to that prayer? Like, what does that mean? And was there a place that you were before where you weren't, you know, acknowledging the goodness, or you just is
Uh,
that let explain that a little bit for me.
okay, so it wasn't that I wasn't acknowledging the good list because I've been abundantly blessed. Okay, let's
No,
be
I can attest
clear.
to that. Thank you.
It's okay, especially in the last couple of years. Like, God is showing off.
God
And
be
I
God.
know, God ain't supposed to have favorites, but I feel like I'm a favorite,
Listen, well, we sisters, so
However,
I'm definitely up right up there with you
listen,
then.
you already know. Right. But what I realized was I was asking for these specific things, and one night I like woke up like, you thinking too small.
Mm.
And then I realized like, oh, me specifically asking for these things may be putting God in a box.
Hmm.
I'm not I don't want to be the one to put God in a box because
Mm.
God honors bold prayers, right? And bold thoughts and bold desires. And whether it's they're big or small, whatever you have in the crevice of your heart, God knows about. And so there was like this thing where like I thought I was supposed to be somebody, right? I always knew that. Like even as a little girl, like I'm gonna be somebody big, but I didn't know what kind of somebody I was going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, like maybe a year or two ago, when I just stopped being scared and embraced all these guide ideas that were coming to me and said, like, well, let me just try it.
Mm.
You know, for 39 years, 38 years, I sat with this dream of a greeting card line because I love to give cards and I was tired of going in the store and when I get the cards, they don't say what I want them to say. The people on the cards don't look like me. And so I'm like, you want something done, Tiffany, do it yourself.
Mm.
Who are you waiting on to rescue you or to do what you want to be done? Do it yourself. You're capable. Everything you need, you got.
Yeah.
And what I know for sure is if God gives you the vision, God gives you the provision as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I wanted God to put some super on my natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And show me what I could do. And so I just started and I did it. And now I'm like, people from Cali emailing me and writing me about, oh my gosh, I never had customer service like this. You're awesome. Like, and I always love when someone from not Philly, not
Yeah.
Maryland,
Yeah.
not
Outside of your
Atlanta,
circle.
to take, yes, talks to me about my cards because it's like, whoa, my cards are reaching people I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's like the
right?
best
So
feeling
anyway, so
when people like outside of your
ever,
circle
right?
that you don't know, when you go beyond that family and friends stage in business, you doing something. It's one thing to
That's
sell
like
to
that's
your mom,
achievement.
your cousin, your friend, your even your church friend, your church buddy. Someone's connected to you. But when you reach people beyond that, that's like one of the best feelings. So I definitely can feel you on that.
I do a little dance every time. I do a little dance every time, but I like to dance. But what I realized is that, maybe I was boxing God in, or that popular meme where the little girl's holding a teddy bear, don't want to get a teddy bear up, but I think Jesus is standing in the meme
Oh
with this
yeah.
big old supersized teddy bear behind his back. And that's the picture that I got in my mind, like, oh, I'm playing myself. Okay, pause. I'm not even going to give you no parameters, God. Just show me how good it can be. Just show
My,
me how
my,
good
my,
it can be,
my.
whether it's in my personal life, my romantic life, whether it's in my professional life, whether it's in my business or my brand, whether it's in, whatever it is, show me how good it can be. Because what does that do? That takes all the stipulations off of God, all the boundaries that we like to put in place when we say we're giving something to God, but we really don't. It takes away all the boundaries and it just allows God to be God
Mm.
and you stay out the way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how good it can be because I never experienced it yet, right? I only could experience how good it has been.
Right. Because we limit, like, so, that's dope. That's dope. I was just, just going back to what I was sharing with you earlier when we talked, how my husband, we did our family prayer on Sunday, and he just let me know. He said if he felt like the Lord was just sharing with him, like, don't think too small and don't put limitations on what you're doing, what those things that God have hidden in your heart to do. Don't look at it as a small thing, and so that's what we do. Like that's so say that, tell your prayer one more time. That's just like, listen, I love those one liners, because you can just repeat that in the car while you driving. You can wake up in the morning like, God, show off for me today. Do you, God, have your way. Those 1 minute prayers, man, they've opened some doors for me for sure, because I know many instances when I've prayed just one line, like, Lord, make what we used to say at work, bust a move,
Bust a
God,
move.
bust a move, God, like bust that move for sure, man.
So yeah, so
That's
God, just
good.
show me how good it can be. Just show me
Show
how
me
good it
how
can
good it
be.
can
Like
be. That might be
wherever you
one
want
of
to
my
show me.
prayers.
You can
We've
have
all
it.
been through a lot these last few years. People have lost loved ones. People, we just endure so much. It's time for some change. It's time for some reinvigoration of our lives in different ways, by whatever that means. And that's not always monetary, or materialistic. Just, I'm grateful to
Right.
be celebrating my birthday in a couple of weeks at the end of May. So, I'm
Yay.
grateful for life. I'm grateful for so much. And that's, to me, that's showing me how good it can be. Because
Yeah, it really
it's millions
is.
of people didn't make it.
Exactly. And so you got to so that's where it lies. So like how good it can be could be in the small things, because small things make big impacts. Let's let's
Mm-hmm.
let's be clear. Or it could be in like the big things. But one thing, what does the brand God is Dope say? I talk to God in public. Okay, so I speak to God in public, and so like when I was praying that, I heard, I felt impressed upon like, well, if I show you how good it can be, don't block it. Because fear sets in, and then that's the thief of all things, right? And so I was like, okay, I won't block it. And I promise you, I started saying that, and like I saw things leading up to that time that I decided to pray that prayer where stuff was shifting for me. And so I was like, okay. But the night before I prayed it, the night before my birthday, I prayed it. And then I promise you on my birthday, things just started dropping in my lap. Things just started dropping in my lap. People reaching out to me because they want to meet for lunch to do a business meeting. They want me to, they wanted to know if my coaching services apply to celebrities and on air personalities and things of that nature. And I'm like, absolutely. People know me for coaching people to publicly speak, and executives and things of that nature. But yeah, so I was like, okay, God. And I'm sitting here listening to what they're asking me to do. Did I get afraid? A little bit. I'm not even going to front, I got a little afraid. I got scared. And then I heard in my back of my mind, do it afraid.
Yep.
Because I asked for this. Show me how good it can be.
You sure did.
Not only that, then, I got, a couple opportunities. They're like, hey, do you want to write for season 3? And I'm like, oh, wait, I try to shy away from the industry a lot. I like to be in the background, but I'm surrounded by it, And so I was like, okay, fine. Maybe this is my time. But in all things that I do pray and ask God to order my steps. But in praying that prayer, we always like, Lord, order my steps. God, order my steps. But you got to take a step for God to order them, so, just little things like that. So I think, Girl Go Global is not only a call to action, but it's a liberation. It's a liberation. It is a declared permission to go beyond not just what their expectations were of you, but what your own expectations are of you.
Yeah, for sure.
You
said a
global
lot,
don't
like,
mean, we got to go to a different country.
Listen, that's already there. We understand that the word global is all about locality anyway, but that's a given. But we just like with the concept, we're just taking it a step further. Like, it's really about going to new dimensions and higher heights and deeper depths. That sounds like something
That
churchy,
part.
for sure. But that's really what it's all about. It's just.
But is that churchy?
Is
Because
it?
that's
I
applicable.
don't know. I just feel like I heard that somewhere.
It's not. I don't know that that's churchy.
I just feel like
I just
heard
think
that
it's
it was
applicable
supposed to
in
be
all walks
somewhere.
of life.
Oh man, like
Yeah, you may have heard somebody's preacher say it, but it doesn't stop at the church, And you and I always had this conversation. I don't think the church stops within the
oh
four
no,
walls.
definitely
In
not.
my life and in my
It's
experience,
about
the church
kingdom.
goes far beyond the walls of a building.
It's
It is
definitely
about
all about kingdom.
relationship, connection.
Fully embrace that kingdom mindset. We supposed to be out in all the uttermost parts of the earth doing, the works for God and being his ambassadors in the earth. So definitely got that. So let's talk a little bit. You've talked a little bit, you've hinted a little bit about, what you do, got your card collection, you doing some coachings and things like that. But, going global also is about strategy. You know, God gives us strategy. We got
Hmm.
faith, or we got to wake up with and do some works. Faith without works is dead. And that's really like the part of this concept. That's Bible. Faith without works is dead. And so what I like to call it is know-how. Some of this stuff, God drops those seeds in your heart to say, oh, go this way, go that way. But, some of us, we go to school, we do all kinds of things to help us with strategy and implementation, right? So I want to talk about, your thoughts, and talk about yourself a little bit, and I can talk about me as well, but I really want to hear from you. Just like that know-how, you not only do you have a card line, you're a writer, you're doing some coaching, you've been a speech writer for President Obama's appointees. And that's like for the audience out there, Tiffany's my girl. We met at work working in federal government, and we were speech writers. I was a special assistant to one of President Obama's appointee, and we were both speech writers for one of the top federal agencies. But that's how we met, and we kindled a relationship, started a business, started the Music and the Messenger together. And she's branched off and I've branched off into my own thing, but we're still working together. You see, we on this podcast right now, right? So we're forever connected.
She can't get rid of me.
No, you definitely can't get rid of me. And so let's just talk to the people about, how we got to the speechwriter. Let's talk to people about how we're both writers, different ways, different strengths, and we kind of meet each other in the middle with our weaknesses, kind of filling in those gaps. Let's talk a little bit about that strategy, how we got there, how we both kind of reach where we are today, because we still got some places to go, but we've accomplished quite a lot, with the with the help of the Lord. We met. So share with the people, like, how did you get into writing? Let's talk a little bit real quick about speech writing, that kind of thing, because there might be some ladies out there or gents who are interested in speech writing, writing, creative writing, or just starting a writing business. The Music and the Messenger is a boutique writing company and editing firm that we started back in 2016. Since then, I've branched off into my personal business, JLM Global Consulting. It's a communications firm, but it's more on the side of training. I'll do some writing for businesses and things of that nature. Different model, same kind of concept to some degree, but just a kind of a different lane. But share with the people how you got started with writing career, and then how it evolved into this greeting card line. Like, give some people some strategies that they can use for their lives.
Well, speaking of going global, the Music and Messenger has since shifted, talking about strategies. Sometimes your strategy has to be what's going with the flow instead of force, right? We started the Music and Messenger as this freelance writing boutique, where we still hold a lot of those characteristics as a writing boutique. It has since morphed into like this creative cipher, right? um, you know, I know that when my first love of writing started in creative writing, right? Poetry, spoken word.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's been so
Yeah,
long
me
ago
too.
that I
I
did
started
that.
a
But
creative writing major at
um,
Morgan State University, HBCU made over here.
Yeah. Oh, so I went to Morgan as well, which we didn't know each other when we
Nah.
went to Morgan, which is funny. But that just shows you how alignment plays a part in what you're supposed to be doing and where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Um, we didn't meet at Morgan. We both graduated from Morgan maybe a year apart
Yeah, I did O2.
and didn't even know each other. And didn't even know each other. Started working for the federal government. And, I wasn't doing anything that had to do with writing. My background was in psychology and therapy and counseling. Like both of my degrees are in psychology. My master's is in counseling, psych practitioner track. Like I was on my way to being someone's therapist. And I started working for the government because I thought that was going to be a shoe-in for me to do therapy within the government. And little did I know that that would take me all around the mulberry bush to get to, I think they were like doing like a detail. I don't know if y'all, know anybody work for the government, but they always got a detail going on. And I actually kind of got bamboozled into applying for this detail by one of my friends in Soror. And she was like, "Oh, just do it. Just do it. What, you scared?" And I mean, anybody who know me know I'm not backing down from that. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I did it. Little did I know that Jasmine would be one of the people who would be interviewing me and giving me, my writing samples, topics and stuff. And I did it and it worked out. Shortly after that, they picked me up for the detail. Shortly after that, that team got dismantled because promotion happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so people started going, different places. So instead of just doing a detail for maybe the deputy commissioner, we were now doing it for the acting, commissioner, which now means that we were working for a presidential appointee. Obama's one of his appointees, which was like gasp, but it was funny because you got to be careful what you say or be intentional about what you say, because I used to joke and be like, when I leave this agency, I'm going to be putting my words in the commissioner's mouth. Jokingly saying
Literally,
that.
Wow. Come on,
Yes.
manifestation.
Jokingly saying that, and found myself eventually the principal speechwriter.
Yeah.
For one of our United States biggest federal agencies. So that's how that happened. That's how Jasmine and I met. And we created this friendship like that was like no other. And we would literally on our downtime, sit in our offices and talk about the things we saw for our future.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember running in like, oh my God, I had a dream. And this was in the dream. And I told you the dream. And you were like, without second thought, like, let's do it. Let's do it. So, eventually we stopped working for the presidential appointee because, White House administration change, all that stuff happens. And so then we were able to really go forth and create this business, because we like to keep our integrity in check.
For sure.
So
just a caveat,
we waited
we did not start our business until
after we were out of those positions. Right. But we waited and we did. And so like, there were like things, where I was weak, Jasmine, those were her strengths. And where she was where, I don't even know if I should say challenge. I just think she ain't like some of the stuff. So and then I would come in. So when we created the Muse and the Messenger, I came in as like creative director, founder and creative director. And then Jasmine was like founder and she dealt with the business. I can't stand dealing with the business, but I know I got to. I'm doing better. But yeah, so that's how it happened, and then I became this speechwriter. And then you look up and it's 10 years later, and now you've been a speechwriter for 10 years. You've coached executives throughout the government, preparing speeches for congressional hearings and doing people from other states that you didn't even know knew you existed, reaching out to their people to see if your people can get you to write for them. It was crazy the way it morphed, and then we separated, which was crazy. Again, I don't know, it was mind-boggling for me that God would wait till we were going to be living in two different states for us to create this business and do this. But we did. And then when I came to Atlanta, Someone's like, you ever ran a broadcasting studio? I'm like, no. They're like, well, we seen what you did with your coaching with executives and stuff like that. We think you can do the same thing with on-air personalities. You think you can do that? And I'm like, I can try. Can we negotiate that it's temporary?
Yeah, I remember that.
And they say yes. Then next thing you know, it's been 6 years and I'm running a broadcasting studio for the government, So it's just like a lot, And I think, like I said, one of my major strategies is just flowing, right? Stop forcing. I think that struggle is unnecessary. And I've learned that within like the last couple of years. Struggle is an unnecessary experience. The reason why we struggle is because we're fighting against whatever is flowing. Right?
Yeah.
We're fighting against the flow. We're trying to force a thing.
Yeah.
We're trying to force a thing. So I stopped struggling and I just flowed and I went in the direction of the flow. And if I got there, I trusted, circle back to my faith and trusted that if I'm here, God knows I'm here and it's a reason for me to be here.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
It's kind of interesting, how stuff evolves like that. I get people to ask me all the time, how did you get to have this opportunity and that opportunity? Like literally, I didn't have no mentor. I didn't have, when I say a mentor, a professional mentor, when you grow up in your career, especially in federal government, they always want to, they want you to have an executive mentor or something like that, or coach or whatever. At the time, I always say God. You know why? Because
we were those. That's what we were.
Right. I always said
that's what we were. We were the coaches.
Yeah, sure. But they always want you to have someone that's going to affirm you, validate you. I just believe in doing good work, showing up, doing my work. But one of the things that I know for sure, when I in middle school, when I decided I was going to be an English major, when I went to college, all 3 degrees in English, some type of English lit, American lit, African American lit, that kind of thing. That's what I focused on. I got my marching orders and that's what I focused on. And what that did was cultivate my abilities to write, put together words and phrases, and expanded. I've gotten better and better as the years have gone on. And so that's how I ended up in certain situations, doing good work, hard work, work ethic, and then staying focused on that thing that I'm the strongest at, right? So people always want to, always ask me, how did you get to, work, do these different things? Or even when I transitioned after the administration, I went into human resources. Here I am taking my abilities and my skills and showing up, and I got my executive leadership asking me to write major briefings for the whole organization. When you show up, and this is the strategy I'm putting out there for everybody. When you show up to use your best skills, despite the type of position, right? Because I'm in HR. I show up using some of my best skills and talents, doing it to my best of my ability. And then what happens? I get to train over 400 employees how to do executive communications. I get to be the point person for writing agency plans. And I don't have no experience in HR. None. So what I'm saying is strategy is showing up with your best skills and then shining. What were you saying?
And then also, I said you build those skills you build over time. Because I came into the studio with no studio background, and the people who are already in the studio looking at me like I got 5 heads, because what is this little, and I was mostly the youngest, what is this little girl going to teach us? And, I'm like, well, first of all, they brought me here for PR, but let's not go there. But, I started out as someone who didn't grow up in a studio, and now I'm the mentor for literally the rest of the studio managers. You know what I mean? Like, because what you do, you showed up. The other strategy, I think, is you got to use what you have.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use what you have to get you places, to put you places. What do I mean? I know that I had the gift of words, right? I knew that I can put some words together. If I can't do anything, I can put words together. I can put what is supposed to, I can encourage. I started leaning on my psychology teachings, right? And I'm like, okay, I know how to read people. I was taught for the last 8 years how to people watch and what to do with people and things of that nature. And so I started using that. So even when I wasn't sure what to do, I was sure of how to communicate, right? I was sure of how to address a person. I was sure of how do I code switch and speak their language. And so then that started setting me apart from everybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody can't speak everybody's language.
Yeah.
And everybody doesn't know how to approach certain people. And where people were approaching person A with 1, 2, and 3, I realized that 1, 2, and 3 was a direct opposition of who that person was. So I tried to approach them with A, B, and C.
Yeah.
So you have to use what you already know, because you think those experiences your previous experiences are for naught, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're actually part of what's going to get your strategy and your game plan to get you where you're destined to be.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I look at the work I'm doing in the film industry, the TV industry, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow, if I never worked for the government and became the speechwriter, which led me to become a studio manager, I wouldn't know anything about studio.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything about now. If you're gonna put somebody on air out of Atlanta's region, they gotta come past me first. And I have to be like, oh yeah, they can go on air, or no, they're not ready yet. That's the same thing that I do in the industry. Like, if I can tell by somebody reading off a teleprompter if they're ready or not.
Yeah.
So little things like that. So strategies, 1, flow. 2, focus on your strengths, monopolize on your strengths, right? That's what you said, Jazz. Yeah. 3, use what you have. Everything you need in a circumstance, you already have it.
Yeah.
Period. If it's God led, you already have it, or it's going to be supplied for you.
Yeah.
So that worrying, that concept of nothing is wasted, and that concept of worrying, I let that go. All that did was give me gray hair, and I don't have the patience all the time.
Listen,
okay.
I learned to go ahead and go to sleep, chick. Tell myself, chick,
yes,
go to sleep, because staying up worrying about stuff that you can't change is just gonna give you big puffy eyes. Then you're gonna have to get puffy eye cream.
Yeah, and we don't need that, Yeah. So it's funny. I was talking to my partner maybe last night, and he was saying to me, babe, we know what you're strong at. We know how you connect with people and, things of that. He was like, so in your downtime, work on those areas that are challenging for you. Force yourself to do them. Force yourself to face them so that they won't have power over you.
Yeah.
So you won't feel, like inferior to them. And I was like, okay, yeah. He's like, on your downtime, some of us have the luxury of God hiding us or teaching us things in the shadow, right? And he's right.
Yeah, that's
some true. Of us have the luxury of God teaching us lessons in God's shadow. So it's not broadcasted for everybody to know, oh, she don't know this, or it's not broadcasted for everybody to know, oh, she can't do this, or whatever. So God will, quietly teach me. And I'm like, people like, well, I'm not in the forefront yet, because I'm quietly teaching you.
Yeah.
And when you're ready and you won't embarrass yourself or me, because let's be real, if God told you to do something and you go and do it, it's not you that's on the line. It's God's name that's on the line now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I never seen God send something out and return to him void,
How about that?
or her void,
So. He gonna, and then the one thing that I like about God, he gonna give you the strategy. It's up to you to take it and implement it. But you got to have faith to do that.
Right.
And you got to have a little courage and persistence, right? So, it's one thing to have faith. It's another thing to have the strategy that you can implement. Isn't one the skills, knowledge, and abilities. But to go global, it's really going to take grit, because this stuff don't happen overnight. So courage, for me, grit is something that's a long term thing, because we can be courageous in
Ooh,
moments,
baby.
but that thing that's going to it took you a long time to get to the place where you become that speechwriter, or you launch that greeting card line, or I launch my new training initiative. Whatever the case is, you got to keep at it. You got to, because when you have those hardships, you're going to have to keep going. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy. We worked 12-hour days when we were working together, 12, 14-hour days, so if you didn't have some
Up
level
at
of
1 in the
grit
morning,
when you
3 in the
got knocked
morning.
down and came back, and they didn't like this paragraph in this speech, or or that language didn't fit quite right, or the data was wrong, you people, my
Or they
point is,
throw the whole speech
you can
out.
throw the whole speech out, but you're gonna get knocked down. Like, even in business, we're both business owners, as well as, in our professional world. But, even in business, things aren't flowers and roses. So let's talk a little bit about, what's something, how can we encourage other women? We've given some strategies. We talked about our faith and how we apply our faith to our personal brands and businesses and things of that nature. But like, what's some encouragement that we can give other women who say, where you get your passion and persistence from? How could we
Okay.
encourage
Well,
that? Encourage women to, keep going, because it's not going to be easy.
okay. Well, a couple of things. First thing is, you have to remind yourself of who you are and what you've already done. Uh, you have survived on today. You have survived 100% of your worst days.
Mm.
Okay. So let's talk like you have survived 100% of your worst days, whether you barely did it or not.
Don't even make me.
Okay.
You about to
Whether
make
it
me
was
cry right
by,
now, for sure.
I'm just saying, like, that's a reality check for us. We're so critical and hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to remember that we have survived 100% of our worst days. And the proof is, the tangible proof of that is we are still here. We are right here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that courage that is rooted in self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you say it out loud or to yourself mentally, it is rooted in self-talk. If you don't believe you can do something, you have already made the decision. What they say, like if you say,
That's good. Say that one more time.
Your self-talk. If you don't believe that you can do something, you've already made the decision. So if you don't believe you can do it, you already decided. You put it out there that you're not going to do it because you already decided in your mind that I can't do this. And so I'm a firm believer, everybody, this 2022, everybody talking about the universe and manifestation and intentions and things of that nature. And I believe in all of that. But I also believe that God puts the universe on assignment.
Right. God created the universe.
Okay.
Let's talk.
Right.
I don't even want to get into that. We ain't ready to have a conversation, but God created the universe. Some people praying to the universe, but God created it.
God puts the universe on assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how people get to God as long as they get there. That's what my dad used to tell me. I don't care how you get to God as long as you get there. But so you have to decide when you're setting your intentions and you're manifesting things. The reason why things manifest is because you believe.
Yeah.
Because you have told your brain, it's just like working out. You could work out way more than what you can, but your brain's like, oh, we tired, we got to stop. But if you tell your brain, we not tired, we don't have to stop, you will continue to work. Your legs will keep working. And so you have to believe, all right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to, even if you don't believe it, you got to tell yourself it until you believe it. One of the things that I wake up, I have it on a Post-it. Yes, I be on my Mary Jane. I be on my Mary Jane.
Look,
And
me and
I
you
write it
both.
on a
Me and
Post-it.
you both.
I write it on a Post-it. And one of the Post-its I have is God showed me how good it can be. But on other Post-its I am a talented writer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I start speaking things into existence. You already know how I get about that, Jasmine. I start speaking things into existence. I am favored.
Mm-hmm.
I live an abundant life. I am prosperous. The Muse and the Messenger is a $1 billion brand.
Come on.
You know, like I start speaking these things, right? You know, when I'm about to drop a card, the Mother's Day card, you know, I was really pushing it on the Mother's Day card. I was pushing the time. I'm still surprised that it even got out on time, but it did. But when, you know what I still said, even though I was scared I wasn't going to make the deadline, this card will sell out. And guess what it did? Sold out.
Look at that.
You know what I mean? Like you have to speak these things, right? So sometimes you have to convince yourself and also realize that sometimes you are going to be your only encourager. And that is okay. It only takes you to believe in what you want to do.
Yeah.
Just you. And you know what happens when you believe? God will put your name in somebody's psyche, put your name in a room, at a table that you didn't even know that you had a seat at. But you got to believe, because if God gave you a vision and you're saying that it can't happen, it says less about your skills and your credentials and more about what you believe God is capable of. And I'm not in the business of offending God.
Yeah, no, we not. So, you know, one of the things I'll say, you know, I'm a big proponent, you know, of many of the things Tiffany's talked about, but I'm really into seeing myself where I want to be. I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Visualization.
Like, I'm literally visualizing.
You manifested me.
I'm visualizing
You manifested me.
my vision, right? I'm visualizing the vision. I see myself at graduation. I see myself a mother. I saw myself as a wife. You know, those things that I desire in my heart, I literally visualize the vision. And so that's what I want to just share. You know, the
I
things
think
that keep me
visualization
going,
plays a big part.
yeah, manifestation, all of that. You know, vision. I made a whole vision board, you know, about my career. Even a vision board about getting married. Hello. So that's what I desired, and so I wasn't ashamed of it. So,
and you have to focus on
how
that.
about
If
that?
you're going to make a vision board and you're going to have a vision, I'm a complete believer in what you just said, Jazz. Visualization is very powerful, just as powerful as the tongue, right? And if you're going to visualize it, that means that you can't allow anything to plant a seed of doubt regarding it.
Yep.
Just how, what is it? Like faith and worry can't really occupy the same space. Right. It's an oxymoron. You know, it's a paradox, right? That's paradoxical.
Yeah.
But you have to see it and know for sure. Like, even if everybody else is saying, no, that's not going to happen. There's no way that can happen. You can't do that. You know, the naysayers, they're going to come, you know, but it's just, you know, it's for you to strengthen that faith muscle. Faith is a muscle.
Yeah.
All right. And you got to strengthen it. And let me just clear up something. I said she visualized me because
we ain't got to tell people everything.
Let's just say this. Jasmine knew she was going to have a friend named Tiffany before she met me. That's just it.
We might, y'all tune in another episode. We might talk about my imaginary friend named Tiffany one day.
But no, so I think that is good. Visualization.
Yeah.
Oh, and write it down as many times as you need to. You need to see it. Write it down. Write it down. Yeah. Write it down.
I found a list. I guess in one of my Bibles, I found a list of goals. I think I wrote like my 5-year goals and 10-year goals, and I had written it down. I put the date on that. It was 2009. I was like, dang. And some of the things that I had written on that list, I could literally check off. And I was like, dang, girl, you did that. And like, so anyway, we've been talking to y'all quite a while. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Girl Go Global podcast. I want to give Tiffany an opportunity to share how you can connect with her. Obviously, we want you to like, share, and give us a review on this podcast because we are building this, but at the same time, we want you to don't keep it to yourself, share it with others. So, Tiffany, tell the folks how they can also connect with you. Go follow the Girl Go Global on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can follow me at Dr. Jasmine Leigh Morse. And check me out and subscribe to my website and for more information and details about what I got going on. Tiffany?
Great. Thank you, Jazz, for this opportunity. This was fun. Chatting, allowing the world in on our private
Yeah,
conversations,
right.
because this is stuff we talk about all
All
the
the
time,
time.
you know, on a daily basis. But you can check me out on Instagram, The Muse in the Messenger, on Instagram at The Muse in the Messenger. If you want to contact me personally, it's The Muse _ Tiffany, Tiffany, Renee, Renee. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you're looking for cards where you're reflected, you can go to www.themuseinthemessenger.com. There is a shop tab that you can click on and click on the Tiffany Reneé collection to order your cards. And more cards dropping. We try to drop at least 2 cards a month. So check us out.
Thank you so much for joining me. As my co host today, we were talking about what it means to go global. And I hope that as we continue to have these conversations, that we'll delve deeper and have deeper conversations about what it means to go global, not only with our faith, but also professionally and our personal relationships and so much more. I'll be having other guests. So just kind of stay tuned. And we will be hearing from Tiffany again. I've enjoyed this conversation. So thanks so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more.
Bye.